In Season of Discovery, there's going to be a ton of different changes compared to original Classic 2019, and I have to admit, it all looks so promising. I can't wait to start exploring the world and discover many unknown things. Ashenvale will now be an open world PvP zone where you can obtain many different things. For example, a level 25 mount as both factions. For Alliance, it will look like this Nightsaber, and it will have a 60% movement speed. Just remember, it's only gonna be usable in Ashenvale, so not in any of the other zones. As a Horde, you get a Wolf, and this is just the exact same like Alliance, 60% movement speed and only usable in Ashenvale. As of right now, it also seems like these will be the only one we can obtain, so you should not expect to be able to use mounts in the other zones, at least not until phase 2 and when you reach level 40. It also seems like there are going to be introduced 2 different bosses in the zone, one for Alliance and one for Horde, and I guess when you slay the opposite faction's boss, you might also receive this buff that lasts for 2 hours. It also seems like there will be different outposts, or well, things you can capture and control, just like the Battleground Alterac Valley. When you do different objectives, then you will also be given reputation with the warsong gulch faction, a faction that is going to be important in Season of Discovery, as you can now also obtain new items. These items will only be useful in warsong gulch, but they will reduce your damage taken and also chance to be critical hit by 5%. Talking about PvP, then there's one last thing I would also like to highlight. There is going to be a faction balance on PvP realms. In other words, if there's too many Alliance players, it will force you to create a Horde character if you start on the server. If you already have a character on the realm, then you will of course be able to continue playing it. Back in original Classic 2019, you had to install an add-on in order to see the cast bar of your enemy. This is no longer the case. Go to Options, then to Interface and find Raid Frames. Just above this, you will see Show Enemy Cast Bar. By enabling this, you can now also see the cast bar of your enemy, and this is always 100% accurate, so you should never miss an interrupt ever again. One thing I'm looking so much forward to is to try to do the different dungeons, but now in a raid. In phase 1, we so far know that Blackfathom Deeps, or well BFD, will become a 10-man raid instead of a 5-man dungeon. What we can expect is that there will be new mechanics compared to the 5-man version, because it's going to be turned into a raid, and therefore also new loot. It seems like it won't be epic loot, but rare loot that will drop from the different bosses. Some of these items even provide you with shadow resistance. It could be useful in Blackfathom Deeps, or maybe even later on when new content is being introduced into the game. I'm honestly looking so much forward to try out this new raid, but also to try all the new spells you can get as each class. For example, being a Warlock, Rogue, or even Shaman tank. All of these new class changes, or well, spells, I've already mentioned in another video that you can find in the description below this one. When we defeat the final raid encounter, we will also get a new buff that lasts for 120 minutes. It will increase our critical strike chance by 2%, grants us 20 attack power, and even increase our movement speed by 20%. So afterward, you could go to Ashenvale and do even better in PvP, or farm your gold a bit quicker in the open world. Talking about gold, then this will also be important in Season of Discovery, at least if you would like to speed level your professions. Professions will be so important, as you can now also unlock the opportunity to craft new epic items. Yeah, epic items at level 25 with amazing stats. How you unlock these and what materials you will need is something you will have to discover on your own. So it seems like most professions will be important from the beginning, not just to level up skinning to make raw gold. No, we're talking about blacksmithing, leatherworking, tailoring, yeah, even alchemy, as you can now craft the new Blackfathom mana oil that will only work inside the raid. And this is also the same case with sharpening weapon that increases your chance to hit by 2%. Ever since Blizzard released Hardcore, they also noticed it was a good decision not to release too many servers, because even though there were only 2 servers for each region, then they had added so many layers that the servers would feel empty even when many players also decided to leave the game. This wasn't the same case with original Classic 2019, where they all of a sudden had way too many servers compared to the amount of players. Where in Hardcore, they just removed a couple of players, and then all of a sudden, every single zone would feel so crowded, or well, at least alive. So I'm glad they repeat this in Season of Discovery, so you don't accidentally start on a server that might be popular in the beginning, but all of a sudden you won't have anyone to play with. Usually, you would only be able to see your debuff on the target and not a duration, at least not without an add-on. This will now be displayed, so you can easily see the duration and also when your debuff will be gone. As you probably know, then we can obtain different runes in Phase 1 that allow us to get new spells. Each class should be able to obtain 12 different runes, so 12 different spells. And as we progress into further phases, then more will also be introduced into the game. How we obtain these in Phase 1 is something I can't tell you, and something you will have to discover by yourself. But what I can tell you is that you will be able to enchant these runes into your gear, or well, socket them, or whatever you would call it. And when you do this, for example into your chest, you could then unlock the possibility to tank as a rogue. What I've also done is to add new buffs to each individual class. As a hunter, you can for example use a new aspect of the lion, and this will increase the stats of all your party members by 10%. In other words, hunters will get Blessing of Kings that used to be a paladin only spell. As a druid, you can unlock wild strikes. This works the exact same way as a shaman's Wind Fury totem. So each melee hit has a 20% chance to also grant an additional attack with 20% additional attack power. So as an alliance, you can finally pump even more damage, as we now also have a way to get a Wind Fury totem. And like it wasn't enough, as a paladin you can also get a rune that will dispel fear and sleep effects on nearby party members. This works the exact same way as a shaman's tremor totem. One thing has also been confirmed about the raids that was introduced in original Classic. These will not be in the game until later phases after level 60. I feel like this is the right decision, so they don't introduce them at, for example, a level 40 version. Instead, I would much rather like to see new mechanics, new bosses and things in Scarlet Monastery. And I honestly feel like this is the perfect place, because they could just turn it into one big raid instead of having 4 individual dungeons. The fact that we don't know what will happen in the upcoming phases is something that also makes me so excited to play Season of Discovery. Who knows, maybe your favorite dungeon in Classic will eventually be turned into a raid. If you like to PvP and do Battlegrounds, then I also have amazing news for you. Warsong Gulch will be available at the launch, and also the possibility to rank up. And there will of course also be a cap, so you can only get to a certain rank, where you can for example purchase items up to level 25. So you cannot just get to rank 13 or 14 and unlock your High Warlord or Grand Marshal gear for Phase 4. I have to admit, I'm looking so much forward to try Battlegrounds and open world PvP in Ashenvale with all these new spells. And who knows, a class that used to be an underdog might all of a sudden also perform very well. In the first phase, the level cap is of course 25, and it seems like the leveling speed will still be the exact same as the original Classic. So if you used to follow a leveling guide, or you had made your own custom made route, then you can reuse these. Just remember, it might also destroy a bit of your experience, as there's many new things to discover in the game. One big mistake I've made myself is to complete different quests where you also got a unique item. For example, a trinket that would increase your movement speed, or for example a weapon with a unique effect. Sometimes you could accidentally sell or destroy these items, and then there would really not be a way for you to restore them. But this can now be done in Stranglethorn Vale at this vendor. The only 2 requirements is that you have completed the quest and you don't have the item in your inventory or bank. So what are you looking forward to the most in Season of Discovery? Let me know this in a comment below the video. On my channel you can find a ton of different guides, and soon I'll also be publishing a lot more as we're getting closer to the release of Season of Discovery. So if you don't want to miss out on those, then make sure to also subscribe and hit the notification bell. It will help me a lot as a content creator and make me able to spend even more time on new videos and guides.